I now call this meeting to order. Would you all join me in salutation to the flag? All right, we didn't see it in the wrong place. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting. What is your pleasure?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion's been made to approve and seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Any correction? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes have been accepted. The next item on the agenda is Vision 94. And before I turn this portion of the agenda over to Alderman Crowley, who is chairman of the Community Development Committee, and his committee members, Alderman Sayi, Garuso, Gillum, and Stafford, I want to thank each of you for attending the meeting this evening. And I want you also to know that every board member was in support of this program. So Alderman Crowley, the ball, toss the ball in your ballpark.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor Wenberg, President Barone, members of the board, invited guests of the board, and the people of the city and the region here tonight and watching this program on Channel 15. This is truly a new era for municipal government in the Rutland region. And it all started in mid-September when the Board of Selectmen of the town of West Rutland came up with an idea and had the determination to carry it out. They respectfully requested their chairman, Paul Cooley, to write a letter to the president of our board, to the chairman of the Rutland Town Board of Selectmen, and to the chairman of the Proctor Board of Selectmen. It's a letter explaining the historical perspective of the original town of Rutland, and the letter points out that this disintegration began shortly after the Civil War and ended up splitting up into four parts a little over 100 years ago. I'll just read the short first paragraph and the last paragraph just to give you an idea how this meeting tonight originated. Directed to President Barone, Chairman Rod Gallipo, and Chairman Ray Moran. Gentlemen, 100 years ago, Redfield Proctor completed the breakup of the original town of Rutland. Now the economic engine for that breakup, the Vermont Marble Company, has shut down, and the Proctor family is auctioning off its property in the town of Proctor. In this historical context, it seems to be an appropriate time for the constituent parts of the old town of Rutland to examine the possibility of increased intermunicipal activity and cooperation. Now, you'll notice clearly that the word merger is not used and will never be used in connection with pursuing this idea. I'll emphasize again Chairman Cooley's words: increased intermunicipal activity and cooperation. Chairman Cooley goes on to point out the historical aspects of the creation and the breakup, and why he thinks the time is right to consider working together. The towns have worked together some in the past, but never as a group of four. That's the unique aspect of this idea from the selectmen of the town of West Rutland. On a regular basis, work together as a group of four towns. And then I'll go to the last paragraph of Chairman Cooley's letter. The West Rutland Selectmen believe that our four communities will be better served if we at least consider what cooperative steps we might take as we head into the new century. Please let us know your board's response to this invitation. I've been on this board almost 8 years, and I never saw anything happen as fast as the response to Chairman Cooley's letter. I think it was about 3 days after it was mailed, this board at a regular meeting thanked the town of West Rutland for inviting us to participate in this endeavor, and unanimously authorized our president to meet as soon as he felt he was ready with the 3 chairs of the other towns. A week later, the town of Proctor acted in a similar fashion, thanked West Rutland Board of Selectmen and authorized their chair to meet, and about 10 days after that, the town of Rutland did the same. The 4 chairs met almost immediately as soon as the temporary name is Rutland Community Compact. I think the chairs are going to work on that, but it seems to clearly identify the purpose for now, the Rutland Community Compact. At one of their early meetings, the 4 chairs sent the following letter to Stuart Silloway, President of the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce. In fact, this was within 2.5 weeks after we received our letter here. Dear Mr. Silloway, we, the representatives to the Rutland Community Compact, respectfully request the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce to assist us by providing the local expertise we need to study and perhaps implement some of the proposals on our list. Paragraph. The speedy assembling of the group of purchasing agents from local companies by the Chamber on September 28, 1993, and their expert assistance to the towns is a fine example of what we have in mind. The expertise would be provided only upon specific written request from present and future members of the compact. Paragraph. We and the other members of our respective governing boards will be very grateful for any assistance the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce can provide us. That's signed by Raymond F. Moran, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, Town of Proctor; Rodney T. Gallipo, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, Town of West Rutland; Paul S. Cooley, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, Rodney Gallipo, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, Town of Rutland; Paul S. Cooley, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, Town of West Rutland; Nicholas A. Barone, President, Board of Aldermen, City of Rutland. I understand that there will be a response to this request by the 4 chairs presented tonight by the Chamber. I don't know the form in which it will take, but I'm sure that the Chamber is ready to assist the 4 chairs. All of which brings us to the reason for this meeting tonight. In discussions with the members of the Community Development Committee, all of whom participated in this effort, we felt that as cooperative as the Chamber was, there might be even more expertise available to help these 4 boards. This concept is not just to help this board, that's part of it. It's to help all 4 boards, individually and as a group. It's to help the 4 chairs when they meet. Because there are many projects that they will be coming up with over a period of years that neither the city nor any of the 3 towns have the expertise to address. The first one, as we all know, is this joint purchasing. We think it'll work, but there isn't anybody on this board that has the necessary purchasing experience to put that proposal together. The Chamber has. The Chamber is willing to assemble these people. But there are some other projects that will need some help, all the help we can muster in the region. So the committee felt that it might be a good idea to invite all the planners and developers in the region, in the immediate Rutland region, to attend our meeting tonight. And I've asked them to, my letter, to feel free to mention some of your successes during 1993. Please tell us what your major planning and development efforts will be during 1994. Also, please tell this board what you believe are the top 5 projects for improving the Rutland region, not just the city, the whole region. And lastly, please tell us how we, the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, can help all of you planners and developers in any way in your efforts to improve the Rutland region. Again, I want to echo President Barone's words in welcoming you all to our meeting tonight. You've all been personally invited. We're delighted that you're here. I can see a lot of expertise out here. Again, not expertise just for this board, but expertise for the 4 boards that make up the Rutland Community Compact. Some of us have discussed the wonderful response you have given us in the last several weeks, and we think we may have kicked off something that could become an annual event, maybe even get a little bit bigger. And we've named it Vision 94. The Community Development Committee sees the possibility that Vision 1995 might take place at the Holiday Inn and all 4 boards present. We hope it will develop into that big an event. And again, we're delighted that you've accepted our invitation. I think everybody, every group in the region was invited, is represented here tonight. With that, I'll turn the program over to Tom Donahue, Rutland City Community Development Director, who will present his program and then introduce and call on the other members of the group from the region. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Eric. I'd like to do that. First of all, just introduce everyone that's here and then show you a few pictures. First, I'd like to introduce Jack Moore, who is the Director of Economic Development for Central Vermont Public Service Corporation. And Jack works on a statewide basis in economic development through CVPS. Mark Fletcher is here, who's the Executive Director of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. Heather Martinez here, she's the Executive Director of Rutland Industrial Development Corporation. And Linda Bentley is here, she's the Executive Vice President of the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce. And Matthew Sternberg, the Executive Director of the Rutland Redevelopment Authority. And the District Manager for Downtown Rutland, the Rutland Partnership, Dick Purcell. And of course, I am Tom Donahue, you know me, and Mayor Jeff Wenberg. Now that we've introduced ourselves, I would like to just show a few slides, if I could, of some of the things that we've done in 1993. It really puts together in a few brief slides about $60 million worth of development investment that's taking place already under construction in 1993, some of it about to happen in 94, and some of it actually going to happen in 95. So if I could take just a couple of minutes to do that, and then turn the floor back over to each of us individually to just give you a few words on what we're doing within our own organizations. So maybe Frank or Dick could take the lights there. John, you might want to turn around. And then I want to blast it. There we go. That picture, you know, well, that's the one that's always taken to the parking lot. That one to have something to focus on. First of all, I'd like to show a slide which just shows a sign that is now located at 256 North Main Street. That's the new home of the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce. They're also housed in there with Rutland Industrial Development Corporation and the Small Business Development Center, Jamie Stewart. Jamie wasn't able to be with us tonight, but that's sort of a one-stop shop for both travel and tourism and economic development. And 2 out of the 3, Riddick and SBDC, are both alternative lenders who do small and medium-sized loans for businesses. At the airport now, we have an essential air service. Finally, we have a carrier in Colgan Airlines, and they're doing quite well. We're very proud to get them on board. They started flying this month, or already in January. They started flying last month. Here we have the Rutland Industrial Development Corporation's Rutland Airport Industrial Park. You can see on the sign it's listed both Town of Clarendon and the City of Rutland. We both share taxes on this airport park, so anything that's brought into here, the taxes are shared between the City and Clarendon on a 50-50 basis. Some of the development we're very proud to have been able to bring into the airport park and joint efforts between Clarendon, the City of Rutland, and the efforts of Riddick are the Vermont Country Store Distribution Center, which you see here now. which is a 70,000 square foot building and has brought in between full-time, part-time, and seasonal jobs, 82 new jobs to this area. It's a substantial building, as you can see by this photo and this one, and is their main distribution for the entire state and beyond in their mail order. And potentially they have an additional lot that they can expand onto if they want to move future facilities here as well. Also, one other development that has occurred that we're proud of is the expansion of Kalo Controls. They've recently tripled the size of their building with a 9,000 square foot expansion and about 10 more jobs added to that company. The one thing I want to point out to the board tonight is that 5 years ago, almost exactly, we approved a tax stabilization agreement for Kalo Controls to help them get on their feet and get started. And 5 years later, after the tax stabilization agreement goes away, they're able to expand and triple the size of their building. So there's one thing that the board has done which has really paid off in the expansion of Kalo Controls down there at the airport park. I want to just go into the city a little bit here and point out some other things that we've approved. This is a joint venture between the City of Rutland and the Rutland County Community Land Trust. This is the mobile home park, which we discussed last year. We applied for an emergency grant for and got $108,000 in block grant funds, and through about the same amount of funds and a grant from Vermont Housing Conservation Board. And those two combined were able to provide housing to about 18 people who were otherwise going to be homeless that were being evicted from Allen Street. Not only did they get the new park, but they were able to put on new skirting, new porches. They have, of course, the wire, the electricity, and the new water and sewer and so forth. So it was a good project that the board approved us applying for an emergency grant for. And in its place on Allen Street, there's 3 large buildings going up there, which is a commercial development, which will be doctor's offices, sort of a condominium style. So we really got the best of both worlds with this project. In addition, we received a $250,000 grant for the Rutland County Parent-Child Center. This building is almost complete. It's done by the Russell Corporation, who hired about a half dozen subcontractors and literally employed dozens of workers over the summer to do this building for daycare and parent assistance for working parents. This building is, of course, along with the mobile home park, they're both on the tax rolls, and both projects serve, and this one in particular serves thousands of residents of the region, and out of those 2,200 residents of the region, about 1,600 are city residents that take advantage of this facility. It's fully handicapped accessible, and it's a fine project, one we can be proud of. There is a ribbon cutting coming up on it this month, and I hope the board members can attend to see it firsthand inside. And then we go on to, of course, the project you're well aware of, the Stafford Technical Center. You can't miss this one up on Route 4. And these 2 large buildings are well under development now, and this intersection is slated to be improved. This is one of the things that the board can help with in the upcoming legislative session. In the future, we want to make sure that the AOT is able to get this intersection improvement done so the school can open in the fall of '94. Also in '94, we expect to see this intersection improve now, as we just were able to win our court case to take the property necessary on the right-hand side of the road you see there and make that improvement to the intersection of Route 4 and 7 that we desperately want to do, along with the paving of Woodstock Avenue for next summer. This photo is just happened to be the guys in the fire department fixing the lights up on North Main and West Street. We do have for the entire city, virtually every light in the city, the circulation signalization improvement. The analysis is going on right now, looking at every signalized intersection in the city, and we expect that all of the hardware will be replaced by the new lights. These are old lights that are very limited in what they can do. With the new lights, they'll be able to do many different functions and handle all the different demands that are placed on them by our different traffic configurations that occur here on a daily basis. It's not only as Woodstock Avenue and Main and so forth, but it's all of downtown. I believe literally every traffic lighted intersection in the city, and that's underway now as well. And the Marble Valley Regional Transit District, more popularly known around here as the bus, right now has a 3,000 square foot building that is going to be a maintenance facility that is under construction right now. That's on Spruce Street, if anyone hasn't been down there lately, and that's right next to their current building. And in front of their present building, which you can see out back there, is the bus park next to it. been renewed interest in downtown and a lot more confidence in our downtown, and you've noticed a lot of other businesses beginning to open now downtown, smaller businesses in addition to the larger ones. Like the Russell building, or the Russell Job, I should say, which is the state office complex for our downtown. Some of you have had an opportunity to go through that recently. That building looks much smaller from the front, but if you get around to the back, you can see just how large that is. It's quite a development. In fact, if any of you have been through the Pavilion office building in Montpelier, it's the same size as that. It's very deceiving from the front, but that's a big project for our downtown. And then, of course, the one you can't miss is the Price Chopper Supermarkets. Under construction now, it's the largest supermarket in the state of Vermont at 58,000 square feet. And everyone's busily putting that one up. Then we have slated also for next summer, if all stays according to schedule, the extension of our Spruce Street, which will go behind the plaza and allow for pedestrian, employee access, truck access, etc. They'll come right up through here and connect with Evelyn Street. And this lot here is at 65 North Main Street. This property will house this summer a 3,000 square foot Allstate Insurance Claims Office. The city's been working with Allstate for about a year now on this project. It has all its approvals, and they'll put in a new claims office here. It's recently received its subdivision approvals. It has its zoning approvals, and it's a very nice project. It's fairly low traffic, low lighting. The design of it looks like the houses in the area, and it seems to be accepted by the neighborhood. Everyone's very pleased with it, and that's something we have to look forward to. That'll employ about 9 people. And then, of course, we have the expansion of Northeast Linens in the city. That'll be employing about 35 new people, in addition to the 12 they already have employed. And then we want to spend some time focusing on the Paramount Center, trying to get a little more activity in downtown Rutland after hours, as will the multi-screen cinema, if we're able to put that in the plaza. But we've got to start focusing on entertainment after 5, keeping people downtown. And this is the site, as you can see there, the future multimodal transit center. This is from Will and Edson. And here's a view of it from West Street. And the reason I show this is because that is the Parker's Texaco, and that's basically right where the building will go on the next slide, which is the drawing of where that would be built. We still need a lot of work on the multimodal transit center, and we need that assistance in getting that approved and additional funding secured for that building. And then we have the coming up in throughout '94 raising funds, and then really under construction in 1995, our Trails and Greenways for the city is a 1.4 mile path that we've received a $750,000 grant for recently. And that'll go along Otter and East Creeks, running from West Street down to College of St. Joseph, the provider, turning at the confluence of East and Otter Creeks. And another thing that we can't let up on is the expansion of our district court building. The legislature has authorized $25,000 to do a study which will look at the needs of the court system in the county, and this is the area that they're looking to expand that on, bring more employees downtown. And then lastly, of course, we don't want to forget, potentially under construction in the fall of '94 and well into '95, the 150,000 square foot Central Vermont Public Service Corporation headquarters. And last, the old familiar shot of our downtown, and couldn't resist getting that brand new Marble Valley Regional Transit District bus in there. Those are terrific new buses that we have operating in the city. And that's it. Where I can get the link. I just wanted to take a few minutes just to recap some of the things that have been going on, and it's nice to put it all in one package and get a chance to look at it all together. At this point then, I would like to introduce Jack Moore and have him address the board on some of the things that Central Vermont Public Service Corporation is doing in the next year for regional development. Jack.
Thanks, Doug. Good evening, folks, members of the board and guests, and colleagues here tonight on the panel. I'd like to take just a few minutes and share our program at Central Vermont Public Service relevant to economic development. We're like many utilities in the United States which have a full-time economic development department these days. Some of our closest ones near Vermont, New York State Electric and Gas, for example, has one, Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, Public Service of New Hampshire, Boston Edison, Narragansett Electric, on it goes. The electric utilities are very active in economic development these days, and we at CVPS just reactivated our program 2 years ago. I'm the manager of economic development and spend most of my time in industrial recruitment. But our first priority at CV in economic development is helping our existing manufacturers. And we do this basically through our energy efficiency programs at the company. If those companies can get a handle on their electric costs, that's one cost that they've got under control, and chances are good they can continue to grow with that. We have at CVPS financial incentives for energy efficient motors, lighting, and other uses, which we've been implementing for quite a few years now. But this is our top priority, helping our existing firms, and when I say firms, I'm talking about manufacturers mainly, to grow and also to stay here. During the past few, I guess this past year, there have been a few manufacturers in the state which have had to pull up stakes. We're working with a couple in the southern part of the state right now that are on thin ice. They may have to close up shop and leave. This is a top priority with us too. But with that top priority out of the way, let me move on to our second priority and share with you what I spend most of my time doing, and that's industrial recruitment. We have a couple techniques to do this, but our objective here again is to get the word out to the U.S. and international manufacturing community that Vermont has some good strengths here for manufacturing. And we do this through a couple techniques. The one we've been using the past few years is a marketing plan that delineates some key industries that do well in Vermont already, and we're going to trade shows in those industries to spread the word to executives in those industries to take a look at Vermont when the time for an expansion comes up for their firm, say into New England, or a relocation. And we're going to trade shows in these areas: medical products, printing, metalworking, dairy foods, woodworking, and I missed one here, plastics. We single out trade shows in those industries and then get a booth in these trade shows, and have done pretty well, I'd say, in our first year and a half with that. We were successful in getting one industry to locate in the state that's going up in Springfield right now. We picked this one up at a plastic show in McCormick Place in Chicago a year and a half ago, and as a result of being there, they saw our booth from Vermont, this company from Ohio, and they also saw New Hampshire's booth, which is around another aisle there. And they picked up business cards from both states, and 9 months later they had executives in this part of New England looking for a branch plant site. And they looked at New Hampshire, and they looked at Vermont, and they wanted to be right along the Connecticut River Valley there, that stretch, Springfield south, either in New Hampshire or Vermont, and we won. Vermont won, and we got that new factory. It's being constructed now in Springfield. A 40,000 square foot plant will employ about 50 people making plastic drainage pipe, the pipe that goes into culverts and parking lots, golf courses, etc. So at these trade shows that we're going to, the people, as you know, those who've been to trade shows that come by are excellent prospects and suspects for you. And we're doing our best to get the word out that Vermont is anxious to talk to companies that are thinking of looking at New England. Often we do this in partnership, CV does. Recently we've done it with some partners sharing the cost of the booth. Namely, the State Economic Development Department has come in on a couple shows. with us, as Green Mountain Power Corporation. When we go to these shows, we have a Vermont perspective. You know, the rising tide raises all ships philosophy. That if an industry can come into Vermont, we all benefit. So we have that attitude when we go to these shows. And this coming year, I have our schedule here to show you what's coming up for the rest for next year. In February, going to be a medical product show in California, and then in March, a metalworking show in Tennessee, and printing show in Philadelphia in March also. And then we have 2 electronic shows coming up, one in May, one in June in Boston, and a woodworking show in Atlanta in August, a dairy food show in Minneapolis in October, and a plastic show in Houston, Texas in November. So we're going after those industries at these shows for 1994. Already we're planning our 1995 schedule, as you know, in these trade shows. Sometimes we've got to look a couple of years in advance. So this is one of our recruiting techniques, going to trade shows. The other is what we call geographic recruiting trips. We take a section of the region south of Vermont, and we go in there on a recruiting effort. For example, northern New Jersey, the Hartford area, Long Island, and Boston are pockets of where we know there are good industrial prospects. How do we know that? A lot of them ski up here. If you just stop and think, the executives in those New Jersey, and Long Island, and Hartford, and Boston, a lot of them are up here. And so what we do, we run an ad in a newspaper, say in northern New Jersey, that we're going to be in the area for a couple of days. I have an 800 number there, and ask them to give us a call if they'd like to talk with us when we're in northern New Jersey on the advantages of doing business in Vermont. We're also working on getting a direct mail going into northern New Jersey. The State Development Department is going to try to get Governor Dean to send out letters, his letterhead, that we're going to be in the area on those days, and to call us. So it'll be a combination of direct mail and advertising in these geographic targets. We're planning 4 of those during 1994. Northern New Jersey will be our first one. So trade shows, recruiting trips, and finally advertising. We at CBPS are doing a lot of these days to try to get industrial prospects to locate here. Some of you may have seen on television, for example, during the past month, our ads. We got sick and tired of Plattsburgh's Clinton County Area Development Corporation getting all the glory. So we're now on television, and we're getting some good responses. As you know, those television channels go into Montreal, and I've talked to 3 people already from Montreal who have picked up our telecast. Going to meet with one in Burlington in a few days. We're also advertising in ski areas where they have this closed circuit television, TV setup going into condominiums and rental units. And we got a response to one up at Killington last week from a New Jersey printing firm. The executive was up here for the weekend and turned on the TV at 5 o'clock at night and saw this commercial, and then said, hey, we've always thought about moving to Vermont. Let's give these guys a call and see these. So we're advertising that way. And also we advertise in national development magazines. And we have, finally, our other recruiting technique is a direct mail program to those industries that I ticked off to you earlier. Plastics, metalworking, printing, etc. And this is a direct mail effort just to those executives in those industries throughout the United States and Canada. So those are our techniques, trade shows, recruiting trips, advertising, direct mail that we're using to catch the attention of firms that are thinking about New England, and hopefully we'll get a shot at them for Vermont. See, to wrap it up here, Art, you had a couple of questions here. How can the Board of Aldermen help in the Rutland region? Couldn't help but think how you often used to tell me and others how you knew John Akers so well from IBM. I think it was you. Didn't you know him?
Wasn't me.
Not sure. Anyhow, Some of you probably knew the former chairman of IBM lived here in Rutland for many years, for quite a few years. But what we need to do, what I'm driving at here is networking. And you folks in your everyday business contacts, if you have any suspects, any ideas of a company or an individual with a company in a decision-making capacity that we could contact, let me know, Kristen Martinez know at Riddick, and we will do our effort to contact these people. Paul Clifford has already done that with me. He was great. He gave me the names of 5 or 6 companies that supply redhead here in Rutland, who in his judgment at least worth a letter to get their interest up about if they're thinking about expanding, you know, to take a look at Rutland. And I've done that. Thank you, Paul. That type of thing is what we need. So that's one thing you folks can do on an individual basis. I think you can continue your tax stabilization philosophy like you did with Kalo. I just heard that you did with Kalo there when appropriate. Competition is keen in this business, and if we get a company looking at the airport park or some other part of Rutland where tax stabilization is important to them, let's not Mickey Mouse around with them. Let's do it. Those are a couple things that the board could do. What do I believe are some of the top priorities for the region? Now that Colgan is on board with his air service, I just hope it becomes steady and reliable. As we all know, that's very important, and let's just hope and pray that it does materialize. Because for manufacturers, this is where Burlington beats us to the punch so many times in Vermont, is on reliable air service. Another thing, another priority I think we've got to take a hard look at is the construction of some more speculative buildings in this state. And this is old hat to Rutland. Those of you who were here 33 years ago remember very well how, I guess Bob Stafford was the chairman of that New Industries campaign that put up a spec building down here below Howard Johnson's there where O.E. McIntyre is now, Metromail is now. But that was originally a speculative building, and more business forums, who in those days, in the early 60s, was sniffing around this part of New England for a branch plant site, was exposed to that speculative building. They didn't like that building, but they hopped across the street, as you know, where more business forums is today. My point is this: the state has, through its Economic Development Authority, what's called the Subchapter 3 program. This is a program that is in the business of loaning funds to development corporations for speculative buildings. And we need some more of those in this state. And I think we could use a couple more here in the Rutland region. The Coca-Cola building, by the way, was the last one that I'm familiar with that was put up by Vita in those days. It was financed through a Vita loan. That was open for 3 or 4 years there in the Coal River Park. So they do work. They get filled up, and the advantage of speculative building is when we have a client in town, we can show them some merchandise on the shelf. Here's a building out there, and they may not like that structure, but like more business forums, they may like the area and put their own business. Let's see. One more thing is, I think we can, a priority, we've got to communicate more with the vacationers who come to this area. Many of them, as you know, are decision-making executives, and we've got to get a message to them that this is not only a great place to vacation, but it's a good place to manufacture. One that comes to my mind, I know Mal Tool and Engineering is definitely a result of those executives years ago having a chalet up in Killington and deciding to put their first brand plant in Vermont up behind Howard Johnson's there. And since then, as you folks probably know, they've put 3 or 4 more plants in Vermont. But we need a concentrated effort to communicate with these executives right this week. The last week, there were thousands of them here. And I'm glad to say we're working with the Chamber and Riddick on a program to tackle this. But this is something we could, all of us could look at and perhaps do a little more of. Well, that's our program at CVPS, and thank you for the opportunity of sharing it with you tonight.
Thanks, Jack. I'd just like to introduce Mark Blucher from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you, Tom.
I'd like to thank you for inviting the Regional Planning Commission here tonight. I'm really quite excited by this effort at regional cooperation. Let me run through just a few of the things that I think are the successes of the Regional Planning Commission over the past year. They're not quite as solid as some of the things that Jack talked about, but I think that they're important portions of putting together a regional program that's going to help people cooperate in a variety of areas. Perhaps one of the most important things that I think the Regional Planning Commission has been involved in during the past year is putting together the Regional Transportation Council. As you're all well aware, there's a new federal and state initiative to take transportation planning down to the regional levels. And through meetings with the 27 communities that the Commission represents in Rutland County, we were able to bring together representatives of those towns. They sat down and spent the better part of a year coming up with, for the first time, a list of projects, many of which were already on the books, but a list of projects upon which these communities agreed and forwarded that list to the Agency of Transportation. I think that's a first for this area. The Regional Planning Commission has also been working with the Chamber and with the Rutland Industrial Development Corporation on regional coordination. We exchanged board members. We're in the process of setting up an ad hoc committee to look at how we can work more closely together in terms of sharing space and resources and developing over the next few years potentially a regional resource center that is not only economic development oriented but more broadly has available to it the resources that the Commission now has in its offices. In terms of some of the things that the compact is looking at, the Regional Planning Commission has for a number of years now been running a cooperative fuel purchasing program. We brokered over or close to 500,000 gallons of fuel over the past year to nonprofits and communities in Rutland County, and perhaps there is some assistance that the person on my staff that manages that program can provide to the compact. And of course, we continue to work with the 27 communities in providing local technical assistance, primarily in the areas of planning and zoning. But, we have also developed a very comprehensive geographic information system that I think has provided communities with mapping that they would not otherwise have had, and has done a tremendous amount to generate a strong interest in planning at the local level throughout the region. Some of the major planning and development efforts that we're proposing for 1994, at long last, we hope to update our regional plan, and we hope this time that it will be very comprehensive and that it will provide a coordinated direction to the region. We will look forward to bringing parts of this plan not only to this group but to all the other communities within the region, and working with you to make sure that it's something that you all find acceptable. We will, by the third quarter, we hope, of this year, have a regional transportation plan that will provide a solid basis for the development of specific projects into the future. We will be able to say to the Agency of Transportation, these are the projects that the region wants, and here's the rationale for those projects. We're going to expand the regional organizational coordination in the areas that I already mentioned. We're particularly excited about the work with the Chamber and Riddick in the preparation of the regional development strategy. We would like to take what happened in downtown Rutland and work with the city and the other communities in the county and expand that concept to the entire region and put together a strategy that would develop specific projects that are going to ensure solid development within Rutland County that's going to serve everyone. We're also involved, along with the Vermont Council on Rural Development, and with the Rutland Industrial Development Corporation in putting together a rural leadership and a rural arts program. These are initiatives that we think will bring efforts and resources into the region to deal with issues like Paramount and to develop the leadership capabilities throughout the county that are going to be critical to ensuring successful regional development. How can you help? I would say very simply, from my perspective, that your continued strong support for planning efforts, both at the local level and at the regional level, is critical to the success of these programs. And the top 5 projects to improve the region's transportation improvements. Certainly Tom has talked about the internal improvements in the city. There are others, I think, that need to be looked at and seriously considered, and people need to move ahead on them. The projects at the airport that will expand its capability to provide extended service, a resolution of the bypass issue. We need to strongly support the regional development strategy so that we're all pulling in the same direction. The regional plan update has to be completed, and it requires strong local support on the themes, on the strategies and the vision that are going to be in that plan. We need an expansion of leadership capabilities. And finally, I think we need an expanded use of the education system, particularly in the kindergarten through high school, to involve students more than we have in the past and on a more comprehensive basis on planning for and implementing the projects that will benefit the region. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Next, I'd like to introduce Kristen Martinez, but just before I do, I want to point out something that I forgot to mention during the slideshow, that some other benefits to the development and sale of the parcels down at the Airport Industrial Park for Vermont store. In addition to the expansion of the tax base and the jobs created, Riddick was also able to pay off their $100,000 note to the city and was able to substantially contribute proceeds towards a $600,000 revolving loan fund that's available now to the region. So those were a couple of bonuses out of that development at Vermont Country Store. I failed to mention and didn't want to miss that. With having said that, I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Mayor Winberg, President Barone, Chairman Crowley, and the members of the board. As I was preparing for tonight, it occurred to me that economic development is really a lot like juggling. We have to support the existing businesses that are already here so they can grow. We have to encourage entrepreneurship by providing capital, information, and education to entrepreneurs. We also have to attract new businesses to the region. And it's like juggling because we have to do all 3 things at the same time. And if we drop any of these balls, eventually the game is over. And the challenge for us as economic development professionals is that we have to do this with limited resources. Limited time, limited talent, and limited dollars. And that's why I think the most important initiative for the next year in Rutland is more regional cooperation. Not only regional cooperation among the professionals that you see here, but also the kind of cooperation that is in evidence tonight by having you invite us to come and speak to you about things like cooperating between towns, between cities throughout the county. The second thing we have to do is effectively coordinate amongst all our groups so that there's not duplication of efforts. I know Jack Moore is going to national trade shows all over the country because he tells me. We share the schedule. I don't have to go out and spend money doing the same thing. We work with the Chamber of Commerce. They go to travel and tourism shows. We're working on a program to cross-market economic development to travel and tourism and to market travel and tourism to industrial development type shows. So that's the way that we make the most out of the limited resources that we have. I think the third most important thing, and these really aren't in any particular order, just that Art asked for 5, is continued growth at the Rutland State Airport. We need to have effective, efficient air service, and we also need the sort of economic development in the area around the airport that has been crucial in other parts of the country to provide the sort of economic development engine for the whole region. We need a top-notch educational system, not only in K through 12, but we also need college-level courses. We need community college, graduate studies, undergraduate degrees. We need worker training and worker retraining programs, access to education for people on the job already, people who need to get retrained to do things that they didn't have to do when they started working 20 years ago. And finally, we need access to capital. Over the past year, Riddick has provided just under $250,000 in capital through loans to small businesses in Rutland County. But we think capital is so important that we have just applied for another $1 million to add to our revolving loan funds that can be used for Rutland County businesses. Our plans, as you can see on the page before you, are basically to work with the Regional Commission to coordinate the regional development strategy that Mark referred to. And it's very important. This is a very important time to be doing this because it builds on the state's efforts to devise a 10-year economic development plan. So what we're finding is that some of the things that we're recommending for Rutland County are being echoed at the state level because they make sense, not just for Rutland County, but for the whole state of Vermont. Riddick is going to apply for an Act 250 umbrella permit for a 70-acre parcel of land that we own adjacent to our existing airport industrial park. This is important because, as Jack says, you need product. When somebody comes to town and they want to locate a plant, if you have a parcel of land with an umbrella Act 250 permit on it, you're just that much more marketable. You're just that much more able to provide the kind of service that somebody needs to come in and get through the process easily. We want to position Rutland County as an exciting place to live and do business. And we're doing that by participating with the state through the Department of Economic Development, CVPS, and the Chamber by going to national trade and travel shows. Then finally, we want to support new and expanding businesses with loans anywhere from $5,000 to roughly $75,000. And we hope that we'll have close to $2 million to do that probably before June. What can you do? Well, you can continue to help us out when we bring a prospect to town and they're looking for tax stabilization. Clearly, as issues are presented to you that have to do with business, whether it's taxes or the cost of solid waste or whatever it might be, we're looking to you to make decisions quickly and to support business. We need also your continued support for education, especially I think some of the landmark educational restructuring efforts that are going on in Rutland are very important, as are technical education and Rutland's participation in apprenticeship programs. And then finally, just your continued efforts to undertake regional projects, to discuss intermunicipal agreements, and to sponsor events like this. And we hope that you do in fact wish to continue this in the future. Thank you.
Thanks. Now I'd like to introduce Linda Bentley again, and she's going to speak for the Rutland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Is everybody else?
Thank you very much for inviting us here this evening. And I hope I can get through this with a minimum of coughing. What Tom is passing out to you is just so you can follow along, but I want to point out what I've put at the top is the mission of the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce that we just reconfirmed at our planning session in November. And the first part of that says the Rutland Region Chamber of Commerce promotes and serves businesses and the public through a commitment to the economic vitality, community spirit, and quality of life in the Rutland region. And then it goes on to say how we do that with a united voice, that we provide some advocacy, and we serve our member businesses. Clearly, the economic health of the region is crucial to our members. So much of what our activity is involved in is economic development and planning around those issues. So in 1994, we'll be concentrating on some main issues. First of all is regional advocacy and promotion. As has already been mentioned, we have formed a new Intermunicipal Cooperation Committee, or Rutland Compact, we haven't named it yet, a committee of the Chamber to facilitate the cooperation between Rutland City, Rutland Town, Proctor, West Rutland. We're very excited about that. We're just planning the first meeting, so we'll see how that comes out, but that will certainly, we'll put a lot of our focus on that this year. It's extremely important. And a first step, we think. We hope that that will be expanded to other communities in the region as well. The other thing around regional advocacy and promotion that we're doing is continuing our collaboration and cooperation with Kellington-Pico Areas Association, KPAA, and other groups on the mountain to stop this division between us and them, the mountain and Rutland. Clearly, we're all in this together. And tourism is a huge part of our economy. We need to learn to love those lines of cars and the shoppers in the grocery stores. So we're working with them, again, to leverage the limited resources. We go to the travel shows together. We publish a guide together. We get more bang for our buck that way. Legislative and transportation, those are somewhat separate issues, but for purposes of brevity, I've linked them here. One of the things that is going to be very large on our plate this year is monitoring and trying to follow the state legislation on healthcare reform, property tax reform, and all of the proposed taxes. And it depends on which day as to which tax we're talking about. We've all read about it in the paper. Our Legislative Issues Committee has a full-time job trying to follow that. We work quite closely with our elected representatives and to try to both keep up so that we can inform our members and let them know when it's going to negatively impact business. Clearly, if businesses cannot continue or if they leave, all of us will suffer. We work quite closely with the Rutland Region Transportation Council and the Agency of Transportation to make sure that Rutland gets its fair share of dollars. Hasn't happened yet, but we're working on it. I think we're doing we did a little better last year, and we hope to do better this year. Our Transportation Committee has been quite active in that. We really are very supportive of this new Transportation Council. I believe the Rutland region is ahead of all of the other regions in terms of getting that together, and Mark alluded to that. Without the airports, the roads, commerce is very difficult to take place. And the final thing that I've mentioned here, because I think it's extremely important and it's somewhat of a new initiative for us, is our Business Education Partnership Initiative. There is so much going on in this area regarding this. And a lot of folks have no idea that other people are out there doing similar or related or linked things. So one of the things that we want to do is become a clearinghouse for all of the educational ventures that are going on, the apprenticeship programs, the change in curriculum, the mentoring programs, new technology awareness programs, the list goes on and on. So we want to make sure that if we can act as a clearinghouse, then people can call us and find out what's going on so that they don't reinvent the wheel. Again, leverage our resources here. And to have business talk to education, to have the two communities understand what some of the issues are, and to ensure that we are educating our students for the 21st century. The workforce that will be needed will be quite different than what has been needed over the last 100 years. Finally, I guess I didn't list 5 important things. that you as a board can do for the Rutland Chamber or for the region, because I think there's one thing, and it's so important, that's all I'm going to say, and that is to continue, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, to continue this endeavor to have the regional communication network set up, the cooperation, to understand that we are not Rutland City and Rutland Town, but we are a region, and when something good happens in Castleton, we're going to benefit from it. Something good happens in Rutland City, everyone's going to benefit from it. So I really applaud you taking this step and look forward to continued communication and cooperation. Thank you.
Linda, you did pretty well there.
Considering.
Next, I'd like to start focusing in, as you can see, on a statewide, regional-wide development. We're focusing now into the city, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Matthew Sternberg, the Executive Director for the Development.
Good evening. These are certainly very exciting times in Rutland. I have been sitting here listening to the presentations from the other organizations this evening, and a couple of key ideas strike me while as I hear what they have to say. First of all, the board has asked a number of professionals in a variety of related economic development fields to go off and think about what they believe the major issues to be facing the city of Rutland and the region. And pretty much to a person, we have all come back with the same observations. This in a city which I'm told has a reputation for not agreeing on what direction to go. I think one of the exciting things that I am hearing tonight is that now in Rutland, there is a consensus about the way to go. Issues that, from my perspective in the redevelopment authority, strike me as being critical on a regional basis are ongoing economic development efforts at a variety of different levels to secure a good commercial tax base and to secure jobs. The growing need within those parameters for building a constructive relationship between Rutland and the resorts on the mountain. There is a tremendous potential there that we're beginning to tap, beginning to position ourselves to get more benefit from in the future, and I believe that the time is right to pursue that. And the third major area, of course, is taking our educational resources and getting them focused as efficiently as we can on the needs of the growing community. I have, in picking projects that I wanted to review specifically with the board tonight, as Tom said, focused in a little more tightly on some of the issues. We've got a major start here in Rutland. The model that is in the middle of the room several years ago would have been viewed as fantasy. Now it's right within grasp. We have the ducks lined up. We just have to systematically make sure that they all quack. And I believe that that fortune is going to come our way over the period of the next couple of years. That also puts a great responsibility on those of us who are working this situation from within the city. Because unless we continue to make sure that Rutland functions as a very tight, very effective hub for this regional initiative, it'll make the work that much difficult for everybody working everywhere else in Rutland County. Some of the particulars that are necessary right in our own backyard to follow through as we get the bigger projects done. First of all, parking administration. We all know it's an issue. It's been a concern right from the beginning of the redevelopment process. We've had some very effective studies done. We have tremendous good fortune, and it's hard to convey just exactly how dynamic that good fortune is, that we found ourselves in a situation where we could be pursuing this multimodal transit center at this point in time in our redevelopment effort. That's a tremendous plus for the city of Rutland, but it's going to take more than that. We have the needs of all the downtown employees that we want to have centered in the central business district, and we have the need of the retailers. All of this needs to be thoroughly planned, thoroughly coordinated, and administered on an ongoing basis. And one project that I would ask this board to look at with us is developing an effective way to administer parking development and management. A second item is one that's a bit more long-term in nature. The redevelopment plan that was passed in 1992 called for, over a period of 10 years, the burying of utility wires in the central business district. We have a number of main transmission lines which run down Whale Street and up West Street, which are unsightly, they're difficult to build around, they can be difficult to work with. A long-term objective is to see what we can do working with the development community and with CV to find ways to get those power lines, and with them a lot of the aging infrastructure that can be repaired at the same time, fixed up and ready for the next generation of commercial life downtown. A third project, which is actually kind of fun, is an opportunity that has developed out of the planning for the plaza. In coming up with their designs, both the shopping center owners and CV have chosen to use in their landscaping historic replica lighting fixtures, ones that are reminiscent of the type of public street lighting that we used to have in downtown Rutland. In talking with the Commissioner of Public Works, it became clear that there's an opportunity here. The city is looking at the need to renegotiate its contract with CV for street lighting, and we here have the opportunity to, in conjunction with that contract, get all of the lighting downtown significantly upgraded. I have asked through one of the architects to have the lighting design company just draw up a sketch of the type of fixture that we may be looking at. And I have copies of this that I'd be happy to hand out to all of you. They're kind of fun to look at. We have given some very preliminary research defining the scope of it. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of working out the technical feasibilities of it and making selections about what kind of equipment we want. But clearly this is something that capitalizes on the benefits of the historic district that we have in place. Adds an ambiance, a look, a feel, a real sense of identity to the central business district that can make a tremendous difference in the way people respond to our downtown. Now, the last item on the summary that I handed out is listed a future project. It's one that we are not ready to bring to you at this point, but one which you certainly should be looking for, and I hope actively supporting when the time comes, and that is the renovation of the Paramount Theater. As you know, several months ago, through the renegotiation of the city developer agreement, the Paramount received a $70,000 grant from the Elias Company. Those funds are being used to develop specific plans, specific designs, and financing plans to get the theater up and running. We fully expect that at some point or another, in some capacity or another, we're going to need to bring that project to this board for your involvement in it. We have not brought it yet because the Paramount wishes to get the problem more clearly defined, get the business plan pulled together, get the operating scheme pulled together to where they know that they have a tight, workable project, and then bring that to the city for involvement. We can look for that hopefully sometime within the first 6 months of this year. So those are the summaries of major projects that we would be looking at, in addition to the continuation of our ongoing administration redevelopment projects that have started to date. We continue to work closely with CV, trying to work out the details for getting their building started when the time comes, and hope that we can take this start and spin it off to a solid future for Rutland. Thank you.
Let's see. Pittsburgh Bell, District Manager of the Rutland Partnership.
You notice how we went from broad down to really focused and specific, and that's exactly what I'm here to talk about tonight, is specifically the downtown. Nobody mentioned before, but I think we should all be pleased that we are one of the top 10 ski towns to live in the United States. I think that is absolutely fantastic, having Having spent 8 years at Killington and appreciating the strength of the ski industry and the fact that a third of all the skier visits in the state of Vermont are within a half-hour's drive from Rutland, to be the only New England town. We beat out Stowe, we got in all those other yucky type of communities, and we came out on top, and I think we can all be very appreciative of that. And if you notice, the downtown revitalization was mentioned prominently in that article. We are very pleased with that. I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, and Chairman Crowley for your support in the past year of our projects. As you know, Rutland Partnership is a specific management company only for downtown. We are involved in regional efforts. We work very closely. We are a member of the Chamber of Commerce. We're a member of the Killington and Pico Areas Association. We have been working with Killington Ski Area on a new publication. We're involved in regional efforts, but we're really focused on downtown. And I'm going to be very brief. Downtown has just completed one of its most successful Christmas seasons in many, many years. Consumer confidence is up, and both in general, and I think about downtown as well. Major capital projects got underway in 1993, more are happening now, and I think this is a year of opportunity for us. And Rutland Partnership, as an organization, is really poised and ready to exploit the opportunities that the new year brings. Alderman Crowley asked Rutland Partnership to suggest how the Board of Aldermen could assist our organization. And rather than but review what we've done in the past year, because we're actually halfway through our operations plan for this year, I felt it would be more beneficial if perhaps we could throw some things out as to how you, as the city officials and a board, could assist in our organization. As Matthew said, from our standpoint, perhaps the most critical issue is parking. Major development projects over the next few years will place burdens on downtown parking capacity never before encountered. Rutland Partnership encourages the city to develop an effective management structure to deal with the parking issue in the areas of acquisition and construction, management, and enforcement and security. While Rutland Partnership is not in the business of parking, it is of critical concern to our membership that adequate parking is available for our customers and for our employees. Rutland Partnership is working to educate employees about the importance of leaving street metered spaces open for short-term customer parking. We need your help, perhaps to develop ordinances to prohibit feeding short-term meters. But before we do that, employees must have safe and affordable alternatives to metered parking spaces. I was very pleased today in the mail to receive the latest issue of Downtown Idea Exchange, which is a national downtown publication. And our program to educate the employees about the importance of leaving metered spaces open was featured on the back page. And I'm very pleased to know that we are receiving some recognition. One of the things that was passed out to you is the assessment report from the National Main Street Center. Those of you who know, we were selected as one of 5 communities in the nation to receive this assessment by the National Main Street Center from Washington. They were here for 2 days in September. I think did a workmanlike job in a very short period of time to assess what was happening in this city, and I think came up with a very workmanlike plan. And of course, we would like you to review that and discuss it with us. An area of continual concern, to say the least, is city maintenance services to the Downtown Special Benefits District. Rutland Partnership's operation plan clearly states that we are to provide maintenance services to the Special Benefits District above and beyond what the city normally provides. We are not to perform services traditionally done by the city. But city services are not being delivered consistently. Because of unreliable equipment, the streets are cleaned infrequently. Leaves and debris pile up in the gutter, sometimes for weeks. Improving maintenance will give visitors and potential business investors a better impression of our city. Now, Rutland Partnership uses volunteer maintenance crews from the Department of Corrections to do odd jobs that we can't expect from the city. The things we would like them to do are such things as weeding flower beds and cleaning kiosks and doing tasks like that that help beautify the area. But because of inconsistent city services, at times I must order the crews to remove debris from the gutters by hand when it piles up. This usually results in a grievance from the DPW union, which ultimately costs the city money. A Rutland Partnership does not want to be a source of conflict over street cleaning, but the streets must be kept clean on a regular basis, no excuses. Perhaps you can help here. We need to formulate a specific program of services to be provided by the city maintenance crews so the partnership can plan effective supplements around it. That is absolutely critical. Another issue is security, and I understand, we have a very good working relationship with the police commission, but as the base of downtown employees and customers grows, the need for security services also increases, and in the future, while there's no specifics at this point, we may need your assistance to ensure that this area is addressed as well. The last point I want to make, and Chairman Crowley, we applaud your efforts to bring these groups together and to communicate. We would like to establish better communication in relationship with the Board of Aldermen. We would like to invite any and all of you to attend our partnership board meetings. The board meets the third Tuesday of every month at 8 o'clock in the morning at Chittenden Bank on the second floor. The meetings are open to the membership. We would welcome any and all aldermen who would like to attend, to give us your input, to perhaps understand the programs that we're working on. The next several meetings will be spent working on the 94-95 operations plan, and that is a period of time for us to reflect and review on the programs that we currently have and be able to identify new directions and new opportunities for the coming year. The assessment that you have in front of us, I think we can all be proud that the city was lauded for a direction that seems to be working with respect to the revitalization program. Rutland is becoming a model for communities. Back in September, Matthew Sternberg and I attended a convention of downtown management professionals from across the United States, North America, and Europe in Richmond, Virginia, and Rutland was noted several times as a community that really is understanding how downtown revitalization works. So I would like to thank the Board of Aldermen for your support. We ask for your continued support. We would like to improve and open up the lines of communication between us, and we hope that 1994 brings even better things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. And I agreed to that cleanup. This isn't easy after hearing all that, but I didn't bring any handouts. I brought the slides, so anyways, I want to give you my top 5 list as Artie suggested we do. First of all, I'll be a little bit redundant in saying that I think that we need to continue to address parking. In front of you, I left the study that of a committee that I chaired 4 years ago that did an excellent study on parking in our downtown. I reviewed that recently, and all the information is still fresh. We have been implementing some of it, but I think the time has come that we look at a parking authority or parking commission for Rutland to deal with the revenues that are created by parking violations and meter funds, and to start to address using those to improve surface lots, which are identified on this map here, number 10, and number 12, which shows also potential sites for decks. There's a number of different areas within that study, if you get the chance to read it, which still need to be addressed with parking, and I think it'd be good for the board to put into committee that issue, specifically maybe creating an entity to deal with parking specifically. And with the advice of council, whether that be an authority or a commission or whatever would be the best to begin to implement some hardcore parking solutions. I think we're doing pretty well with parking, but as development continues to occur, obviously demand is going to be placed on what we've been able to create, and it's always an issue in permitting. In addition, I want to highlight again the multimodal transit center. I can't say enough about that project. That goes hand in hand, of course, with parking. It is a multimodal transit facility, but has 626 associated parking spaces with it. And it's going along very smoothly. Under the watchful eye and the push of Larry Dreyer, administrator for the Marble Valley Regional Transit District, it has gone a long way. It's been through its phase 1 design and is now into the environmental assessment. It has received funding up till now through the legislature and the Agency of Transportation. But I think it's important for this board to spend some time on that in this legislative session. The mayor and I go up quite often, but I think it's important for aldermen to go up as well. Your presence is noticed in Montpelier. A lot of people don't go and act as a voice for their communities, and the ones who do speak much more loudly in person. It's very important that we get to the next stage, which is land acquisition, and then final design for that project. Additional funding still needs to be secured, although it is moving along on that track. I think it's very important for this board to, if possible, speak with the legislature personally in this upcoming session to help continue that funding initiative. In addition, we have been able to secure, at least at this point, another $1.5 million towards that project through Senator Leahy's office. He's budgeting that to the Federal Highway Administration's budget, which will go directly to the state, and it'll be earmarked for this project. So it is really coming together, but as you know, it's a crucial project for the continued development of our downtown. And one that's not all the way there yet. It still needs our full support, and besides support from this room, I think it needs your active support in Montpelier in the next session. The next one would be the Route 7 corridor improvements. I don't know if you've heard much about that, but a study was completed this past summer. I'm your representative in the Rutland Regional Transportation Council, and Mark Blucher mentioned earlier. I've been an active participant for a year now. We've held a dozen meetings, and I've been at all 12 and been very active in those. And it is coming along nicely. One of the things simultaneously that occurred as the Transportation Council was developing over the last year is the corridor study for Route 7 improvements. And now there is multi-million-dollar improvements planned for the stretch between Danby really and Wallingford, and then Rutland and to Burlington. I believe that if we're going to attract industry to this area, one of the things we have to do is to complete improvements to the Route 7 corridor. If we aren't able to get a divided highway, at least make the road that we've got acceptable. It's unacceptable now, as everyone knows who travels it. A company, well, I can mention who it is, Ben & Jerry's, had put out an RFP for their building, which they ended up developing in Waterbury. And on that RFP it said, it must be within 10 minutes of an interstate, otherwise don't apply, basically. We never got a crack at that one because we just didn't have the highway access. And that's just one example, but there's many more that don't look at us because of our highway problem. Senator Ferraro, in the same vein, is pushing now an east-west highway corridor. That's a big picture item, but I think it's an item which time has come, and I think that our full support, we've already shown in passing a resolution recently for the east-west highway corridor is important. And along with that, also the bypass of the area. The other one, which is a little redundant too, that I feel is a top 5, is the airport improvements. Right now, there's half a dozen improvements slated for that airport, and again, those are improvements which need to be pushed in this legislative session. I would appreciate the board going with me to Montpelier and helping me speak with the committees and reinforcing how important those improvements are for this area. They are in the capital construction budget, but they move very slowly unless people get behind them and actually demand their funding. In my files in the office, I have 3 or 4 news clippings from businesses who have located in Burlington and cited their main reason for locating there is the international airport. There's no doubt that air travel and highway improvements will help us recruit business to this area. And lastly, on my top 5 list, I think is something we've been talking about for quite a while and we've had some interest. It's definitely not back-burnered, it should be front-burnered, and that's natural gas. We have the potential here for a cogeneration facility. We have the property, we have the transmission lines, we even have the demand in this area. But we don't have natural gas. The two go hand in hand, and if we're able to attract a cogeneration facility, we'll also attract natural gas. And although it's a big, big project, it's definitely not out of reach. It's very realistic, and it's something that could happen in 1994, or at least be committed to in 1994 if we continue to press ahead on that front. So that's my top 5 list, and I hope to be able to work with the board very closely in the next year to bring some of these things to fruition.
I wonder if we could hear from Larry Dreyer for 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If he doesn't mind, Larry's right here.
Sure.
Being a Dana and
Well, we've had a very, very exciting 1993. We purchased $1.2 million worth of new vehicles. The vehicles have a 14 to 15 year life expectancy. We purchased a piece of land next to our facility for $130,000. And we're presently building a $450,000 maintenance facility to service the vehicles and equipment that we've purchased. The facility is 10,300 square feet. We've also contributed to the city of Rutland, mainly about $170,000 for new passenger waiting shelters. We've also expanded service by about $40,000. We started a rideshare program that we're working with the high school and for the Woodstock area, Woodstock Avenue area, to mitigate traffic and hopefully move some people around. We delivered the RFP to the state of Vermont today for the design of the multimodal transit center. They'll study it for about a week or so, and we hope to go out for bid within 2 weeks and have a commitment within 6 weeks on that part of the project. The environmental assessment will be completed around January 15th. The structure will be a little bit less than 400,000 square feet. It's about 80,000 square feet per level. It'll have the ability to have 14 buses, and it'll also meet all the ADA requirements. It'll have a heated terminal and waiting area consisting of around 4,000 square feet. The terminal will house ticketing and packaging expresses for intercity and intra-city buses with space for Marble Valley and Vermont Transit and other participants in the area. The operation of the transit center will include things like electronic key punch access gates dedicated for employee parking from the new state office building, closed circuit television and voice activated sound systems for monitoring any problems that might transpire in that area. We're really excited about that project, and as Tom mentioned, we do need a final push over the hill. And it's basically for the red tape. It's very, very frustrating going up to Montpelier and being at sometimes the sole voice in this project. We need the cooperation of the board. We need the cooperation of the community, which we have. But I guess it's just getting it all together that will really help. I can't say how much Senator Leahy has helped us. We started off anticipating $500,000 of earmarked money, and we're up to $1.5 million. We'd like to really see this project done by 1995. Again, we at the district want to help the community grow through cooperation and consolidation of resources. There's more that we can do for you, and there's more that we want to do. And we're just delighted to have the opportunity to help. Thank you.
I just want to recognize Stuart Soloway, too, who's the president of both the Chamber of Commerce and the
He'd be happy to know I haven't anything I'm struck by listening to this without an awful lot of planning, how similar everybody's remarks are. It comes down to parking, it comes down to creating jobs, it comes down to working together. A couple of things that maybe weren't emphasized as much as they should. First of all, Arthur mentioned and Linda touched on only briefly the so-called Rutland Community Compact. Ed Riemann, who many of you know and I'm sure know favorably, has agreed to chair this committee of the Chamber. We spent a week or 10 days prior to Christmas going around town, actually to the 4 towns, and selecting 8 people to be on this committee, to be the committee itself. And I thought it was going to be a little bit hat in hand. It was the easiest sell I've ever had to make. People are really wanting this to work. There's an awful lot of goodwill, there's an awful lot of interest in making the 4 towns, and I keep hearing somebody say, well, Mendon might want to fuss with it, and Wallingford might want to be included. To all of us, I think one of the things you've heard is that Rutland is the core of the state of Vermont. It's the core of central Vermont. Rutland City is the core of this region. And if you guys can take this enthusiasm where it can logically go, I think we can do some great things with this committee, but it is going to require a certain amount of give and take from all of the various boards of aldermen and selectmen involved. It's very exciting. The people we have selected, when you see the names, you'll be very pleased with it, I'm sure. They are all wanting to work very hard to get this done. We meet on Thursday night for our first session. Another subject that I'm beginning to hear more about is trash costs. I don't know what you have looked at your own businesses to see what the cost of waste removal is and how it's going up. At least in my bank, it's going up enormously, and we recycle as much as we can recycle. Probably not as much as we can, but we do an awful lot. I would invite you to think about those costs and how you might help with those. And lastly, I do this with some trepidation, and I don't beg very well, but I hope that this board and this administration in this city can really come together and grab hold of some of these issues. There's a lot of good stuff that's been talked about tonight, and it's critical that the two parts of the city of Rutland work together, and let's forget 93 and get on with 94. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. We'll wrap this up. I'd like to turn the floor over to the mayor, Jeff Weinberg.
Tom Smith, do you have anyone there that's invited guests that has not at least been introduced? I see Mrs. Jingola over there.
I'm just support.
Well, I mean,
And we have Mr. Giancarlo over there.
okay, and I was going to call on the mayor to make a remark.
Yep.
Mayor Winberg, I'm sure you got a few remarks that you'd like to.
Letter accompanying last something to say. Thank you, President Barone. I had a couple prepared statements. Later in the agenda, I've requested an opportunity to deliver my traditional State of the City address in your next meeting, so I will not be doing that now, much to I'm sure everyone's relief. But I do have a few things that hopefully will bring perhaps a little bit of my perspective to some of the wonderful things I think are underway here. Before I do that, though, I heard something a bit earlier. I think Mark Blucher first mentioned it, and I believe Kristen referenced it again, and that was this notion of a regional planning, a regional development strategy modeled after or somehow how dovetailed with the notion of what happened back in 1987, 1988, 1989 regarding the downtown program. If there is any way that we, working as citizens of this region, could put together a program or participate in a program one half as successful for job development and economic development in this region as the downtown program was for the redevelopment of our downtown, I think we would all have a great deal to be thankful for in the years to come. That is clearly the biggest issue facing this region, the biggest challenge facing us all. And if such a process at the initiation of Planning Commission, Regional Planning Commission and RIG could bear fruit in the same manner that the downtown program is bearing fruit, it is one that I think all of us must work wholeheartedly to bring forward. I want to congratulate all the members of the board, those of you who proposed this idea and those of you who have entertained it for the last, what is it? Oh my goodness, much too long. But it was all worthwhile. And also providing the opportunity for all these agencies and these civic organizations to come forward all at once, talk about their plans for 1994. Our ability to continue this community's remarkable progress depends on our ability to continue to work together. And in most cases, real project progress is in fact impossible without the active support and coordination and efforts of this board. So it's appropriate that we're here tonight. But in spite of the progress we've seen to date, the challenges in 1994 are substantial, as I'm sure you're well aware. Around a year from now, for example, the city's $400,000 obligation under the Plaza Agreement will come due and payable. Now that represents less than 1.5% of the total project cost and about a little less than half of the annual tax revenues which the completed Plaza site will bring to the city. by any measure is a bargain. Nonetheless, we're going to have to find those funds in order to make sure that project proceeds in a timely and proper basis. This board should begin deliberations on this matter as soon as possible so that we will know your insights and your preferences as to how we might fill that gap. Similarly, as we've heard several times, a multimodal transit center is absolutely vital to the overall success of the redevelopment program. This project is not only critical, but it has also grown in terms of its importance, scope, and support. But so have its demands, or projected demands, on local financing, to the point where there is reason to believe that the local support of this project may exceed the value of in-kind real estate contributions. If that's the case, we have to answer some questions, and we have within the next year to do it. How will the city fill the gap and ensure the project's success? And only the board here ultimately can choose the course we will follow. And discussions toward that end probably should begin as soon as possible. We talked about parking and heard about parking a lot. And although parking administration is something I think that we can tackle cooperatively very soon, almost immediately, there are going to be other demands in addition to the financial demands of the multimodal transit center, yet to be fully determined. But there will be other demands to manage and provide for the cost of parking facility and construction and development. What are our priorities, looking at the studies and so forth which we've seen? What are the priorities for additional investments? How are they going to be paid for? I think it's time for the Redevelopment Authority and for this board to sit down as soon as possible to begin looking at not only the studies, but looking at how we're going to put those concepts into concrete in the next 2 or 3 years. And although this is somewhat mundane, the continuing space needs of city offices are not going away. The clerk's treasurer's office is in severe need of vault space. The police department has a need for, its long-standing need for space and facilities. And we have to look at this from a standpoint of priorities. What will this board's priorities be for some of the internal needs that we have, the long-standing internal needs? How are we going to fill that need? How are you going to respond to those needs and propose that the community respond to those needs in the next year or two? And probably the most important from my perspective, and I don't believe I've heard it here earlier this evening, a municipal project that I think this community needs, perhaps above all else, given the things that we have and are accomplishing, is the crying need for a new indoor recreation facility. Now, we have received overtures from some of our neighbors, surrounding communities that would like to participate with us in the notion, or at least exploring the notion, of a regional facility, an intermunicipal facility. I would like to know whether this board would be willing to entertain such a notion. And certainly we have the interest that's been stated. Is there a means or mechanism by which we can pursue that and answer some of the basic questions of, is that possible? Could it work? How would it be financed? How can we make that happen? Because I think the vast majority of the people of this community would see it in terms of municipal facilities, an indoor recreation facility is our remaining single biggest unmet need. Every new initiative, every fresh opportunity we hope to seize in 1994 has as its foundation the work that's gone before. When we choose a course through vision, we are basically saying where we hope to be at some point in the future. We only reach the destination through hard work, persistence, tenacity, ingenuity, working together. While we have made remarkable progress in our programs, we haven't quite reached the destination yet, even for those things that we like to see come to closure as 1993 moves into 1994. With this board's active leadership, commitment, and support, however, I am absolutely confident that we will make it. And I want to thank you again for providing the opportunity for all of these ideas and initiatives to be brought together in one place. It's a great way to start 1994. Thank you.
Alderman Crowley, unfunded?
Yes, I want to express my deep appreciation to the mayor for his remarks and his commending the board for our efforts in arranging for this first of what we hope to be annual meeting of the development groups, and hopefully by next year the other boards in the region will join us. We did it before with Rutland Town very successfully. I see no reason why we can't do it with the other towns in the compact. And before we adjourn this meeting of Vision 94, I respectfully recommend that we as a board rise and express our appreciation to all these people that have appeared tonight and have given us such a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, everybody.
Once again, I express my appreciation to Tom and all your invited guests, and especially to the Community Development Committee and your members for a job well done in bringing Vision 94 before the board. We will now recess for 5 minutes. We will now resume the agenda, and the next item is for anyone outside of the rail who wishes to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone outside of the rail? Seeing none, this is for someone outside of the rail. I will get to committees and old and new businesses. Okay, then we'll move on to communications from the mayor. Is a request for agenda time for State of the City's address. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, how much time did the mayor expect to be needed?
I believe you don't have a letter in your packet, or? Yeah. I think he requested 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
Perhaps I might suggest at the next regular meeting, we can make motion to that effect.
Who's going to allow 20 minutes in the next meeting to the mayor's State of the City address?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any debate on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion has been granted. The second item from the mayor is ballot funding request. Copy of letter to Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging. Alderman Casarino.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to refer this matter to the Finance Committee to sometime between now and maybe next fall. Relook at it, because I think there's a point that is made here that maybe we should allow for a cost of living increase or something to that effect, at least to restudy it. I don't say do away with it, but at least look at the policy and see if there is any possibility for flexibility as far as raising the limits without having to go through the petition.
You wish to make that in form of a motion?
I would like to refer this to this ballot funding request to look at our policy to the Finance Committee, take another look at this policy and see if there's any way we can maybe make it a little more flexible.
Second.
To update this, they are not planning on.
I understand it. I just, this letter, the issue. Yeah, the issue that was.
Do I hear a second to the motion?
There was a second.
All right. Any debate on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. What do you wish to do with the letter?
Receive and place on file.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to receive and place on file and seconded. Any debate? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Reports of standing committees. Is there a chairman of a standing committee who wishes to make a report? Alderman Casarino.
Mr. President, I'm reporting on the General Committee. I'm Vice Chairman of it. There was a meeting held tonight, 7:15, in the Lamontagne room with myself, Alderman Moore, Alderman Barrett, and Alderman Jones, along with the mayor and city attorneys, Breslin, and Assistant City Attorney Sullivan, and Mr. Breslin and his wife. The issue that was put into committee at the last meeting was sort of a revision of the city attorney's office, and that was taken up tonight. And what the committee ended up doing was having a split. So the motions, to give you an idea, the motions were to, one, to accept new job description of the staff attorney, which is a contract for Mr. Grissom, but it's just the first thing we wanted to do was accept the job description. There was a vote tied 2-2 with Alderman Jones and myself voting in favor, and Alderman Moore and Alderman Barrett voting against it. So I bring this matter to the full board, and at this time I move that, I think you all have copies of that in front of you, that the job description of the staff attorney be accepted.
Second. Well, in second. Any debate?
Mr. Chairman, due to a conflict, I have to abstain from this issue.
The chair will recognize your reason for abstaining. Is there any debate on the motion?
Roll call vote, please.
I would just like to explain this just a little bit, and if there's anyone that has any questions, I'd be glad.
The motion before you is to approve the job description of the staff position. That is the motion. And second, roll call vote has been requested. Is there any debate before we get in the roll call? And we'll call the roll.
John wanted to explain.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Something else.
I thought you
Okay, I'm sorry.
Alderman Saggy,
Yes.
Gillum,
Yes.
Caruso,
Yes.
Moore,
No.
Cassarino,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Barrett,
No.
Crowley,
Yes.
Stafford.
Yes.
7 yes,
By a vote of 7 yes, 2 no, we will approve the motion.
The second motion was to approve this memorandum of understanding. It's been changed on instead of a contract, if you would make that a memorandum of understanding for the city attorney. That was voted on, and at that time it was voted 3-1 to accept it. And that would be Alderman Jones, Alderman Moore, and Alderman Cassarino voting in favor, and Alderman Barrett voting against. At this time, I would like to pass that motion, or recommend a motion to submit to you the memorandum of understanding for the city attorney. I would so move.
The second motion. First of all, let me try to explain it, because I believe I was probably as an ad hoc member to the board. The vote was 2-2, so this is not...
This one was 3-2, Mr. President. 3-1.
This 3-1? Okay. We felt that the city attorney already has a contract in place. This would have constituted, if we'd have used the word contract, a second contract, which was different than the first one. So we kept the original contract in place for the duties and everything else, but a memorandum of understanding will be written and agreed to that the city attorney will voluntarily take a reduction in the number